This hour is brought to you by Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington. Personal injury, criminal, business, whatever you need, Jeremy Temple Law Office will get you taken care of.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat with Roy O'Leary here on this Monday, March 9th. I cannot believe we're that deep into March, Todd Larry. Coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. How was your weekend, sir?
Man, championship week is always a blast. I love the way that it got started. It was a good weekend. It was a lot of sitting around doing nothing other than eating food and wings and watching basketball. So that's kind of a fun weekend for me.
Yeah, we got plenty to talk about. The great voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer, will be joining us today, as always. We got plenty to talk about in regards to Indiana basketball as they finish up the regular season and, of course, head into the Big Ten tournament in a couple of days. Where are they as far as the tournament goes? We got bid stealers. We got Sesame Street to talk about and plenty of high school as well, man. Lots going on. Your son Will in action with Carmel, and I think they brought home a championship, did they not?
They did. They had they hit a game winner on Saturday or Friday night, hit a last-second shot. And we're able to make it to the finals. But, yep, they're there. They're there for the regional.
Then, man, I cannot wait to go to – where's their regional? Where's their regional?
I can't remember.
It's probably in Indianapolis, I would imagine.
No, I don't think it – no. See, you're confusing them with the teams that play the good schedules in Indianapolis. They go up north to, like, Logansport or somewhere weird.
Right. Down to Seymour, I'm looking forward to let's see, who all's going to be there? You've got Floyd Central. You've got Bloomington South.
I saw the
Highlanders
with their first victory in what, 30
years? 30 years for this, 31 for the sectional title. Yeah, went through the drought with New Albany having risen up and just really controlling that area for so long, and then they broke that drought a few years ago, and they've kind of taken over as the team of that area. But yeah, big win for them. But they're looking at a rematch now between Floyd Central and Bloomington South and Anthony Leal, who back whenever they played during the season, Floyd Central's top free throw shooter missed a front end of one and bonus at the end of the game, gave them just enough time to win on a last-second lay-in. So looking forward to that rematch. Then you got Christian Lander and Evansville Wrights, who they'll be there as well. He's been rolling it up, man. He has been he had like 32 points in one sectional game. Trey Kaufman from Silver Creek, they beat Madison to win a championship. Of course, Madison, coached by your man Sharon Wilkerson of Jeffersonville, Indiana, that played there. I think he was like a freshman when you were a senior, something like that.
Yep.
But
famous broken leg.
Oh God, yeah, that spiral break. I'll never forget that. I can still see that in my head.
Yeah,
I mean, there's very few people that have an injury like that so many people see that, and when it happened, it's like, wow. Yeah, that was pretty gruesome.
It was nasty.
But Luke Goody, they lost. He's out. Blake Wesley, they lost. I think he lost to Trey Galloway. But Galloway they won a sectional championship. They beat South Bend Adams by 1 to continue on their stretch to see if they can continue. So lots of high school stuff going on, man. I'm looking forward to it. I know you'll be at Will's Regional up there. I'll be going to Seymour, and so we got all kinds of stuff going on.
Unless the Hoosiers are still playing. I mean, you're kind of counting the Hoosiers out already.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not expecting Indiana to be playing on Saturday. That could change all of that, certainly. But and it's not that they can't get there. I was just looking at their layout, and the first game obviously against Nebraska. If they win, they get Penn State. I think Indiana has a really good draw, and even if they win that game, Maryland. Maryland's playing well, of course, but we've seen them play well with Maryland. So there's a run. Indiana can make a run. There's no doubt that they can. I haven't seen them do that all year long, so that's why I have my doubts.
And in this tournament especially, especially, they have not, they've not made those deep runs. I mean, you could take a team like Michigan, and they just have, ultra confidence when it comes to this tournament. They have. I think that I saw a stat where their win a couple of years ago as an 8 seed is the lowest seed to win a major tournament. One of the 5 Power 5 conference tournaments. I mean, just certain teams get really comfortable in these things. Now, I mean, I think Indiana has a little bit of an advantage. I think Purdue also has a little bit of an advantage. They've played in this building already this year. That's one of the benefits, I think, of playing that Crossroads Classic that we talk about. I know it takes away from the early part of the season when we would love for Indiana to beef the schedule up and go play in Maui. But that Crossroads Classic gives Indiana a chance to play, in an NCAA type venue. And they were up there. They've played in this arena. I think they've got a little bit of an advantage.
Well, let's certainly hope so. We'll see. But man, the conference ended yesterday, and great games went down.
And while you're on that subject, did you see what happened in the Illinois-Iowa game?
Well, I don't know which one.
Did you see who got a double technical? In the Illinois-Iowa game.
Little friend.
The same idiot that Finney got into it with last year threw an elbow again last week, and he's the one that got the double technical with little Fran.
Yeah, and it was a big deal that elbow didn't connect, which I think is horse crap if it connects or not.
What if that's a fist? What if that's a fist? If that's a punch that you throw and it doesn't connect, you still get thrown out of the game. Exactly,
and that's and he threw it. I mean, there was no doubt that was an intentional act, and how that matters whether that connects or not is crap to me.
Oh, here's the thing. So because the officials 1 week ago yesterday, so March the 1st, last Sunday, he does the exact same thing and gets into it with Rob Finney. And Rob Finney does what everyone is asked to do. Everyone by their coaches, everyone by the officials, everyone by the commissioner of the conference, everyone by the NCAA is asked, don't escalate the situation and turn and walk away. And Rob Finney does that, and nothing happens to the kid. So what is is it Frank Williams? Is that his name? I'm spacing his name, but it's Williams is his last name. So what happens to him? He looks at it as, I mean, there's no repercussion for doing
exactly,
this.
And he continues to do it.
So he does it again the next week,
and he got away with it again.
You know what the result is? Nothing. He gets a double technical because the other guy responds to it, and so therefore nobody shoots any free throws. There's no negative impact to him or the team, and so what has the Big Ten shown him right now? What's the Big Ten taught him?
It's okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Start all the fights you want to start. It's no big deal.
Yeah,
because what should have happened is he should have got a double technical along with McCaffrey, but he also should have got a second technical for throwing the elbow that did not connect, which would have ejected him from the game. That's what should have happened yesterday.
I agree.
But the Big Ten, the officials, they are the biggest bunch of cowards I've ever seen in my entire life, and they are not held accountable. If kids, you know what you'd be good to do in school is just become an official, because it doesn't matter if you're good or bad. You're not held accountable. You can just do whatever you want. Nobody cares if you're any good or not.
You got that right. The Big Ten finished up with a 3-team tie for first place. Never in the history of the Big Ten Conference had a winner had 6 losses. Now, this is the first season of the 20-game schedule. Let's don't let that get lost. But there wasn't just one team with 6 losses. There's 3 teams with 6 losses at the top. 3. That is nuts. And Illinois, who finished second, 7 losses, 13-7. That is, you talk about a meat grinder, and that's why Archie went on his, which I think we'll laugh, his Sesame Street rants, which he was a little he got lambasted by the national media. They raked him over the coals, saying he was acting like a child, and in essence they're not wrong. I mean, they were saying you got to go. Hey, how about you go win before you complain? And everything he said, as far as what he laid out, was accurate. I think he's frustrated because for 3 years in a row, well, no, he hadn't always even been on the bubble, but he's in the same position basically that he's in last year and the year before, and it's not comfortable because obviously the fans are getting restless. He hears the chatter. He's not going anywhere, but it's got to be a pain. It's got to be bothering him.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the conversation is not a matter of whether keeping his job or not. He's not going anywhere, like you said, and we don't want him to go anywhere, but he also loves basketball. Basketball is his life and has been his life since he was born, basically. And he wants to be a part of the NCAA tournament. Like, look how frustrated fans get at the fact of when Indiana is or isn't in the tournament. And it's not our livelihood. Imagine if it was our livelihood, how frustrated you would be at this point. And so, I mean, that part of it, I completely get. I mean, he probably said some things at the end of the day you probably shouldn't say, but he also, if that was Coach Knight saying that, everyone would think it was hilarious. Oh, there'd be Sesame Street stuff all over the state. All the channels, TV channels would be making jokes about Sesame Street. There'd be memes all over the place. It'd be hilarious. But because
just hearing Todd Leary say the word memes is enough to make up for that.
Thank you. I'm on fire right now. I'm gonna tweet something later. I mean, it's gonna be a big day for me.
He's all over social media. He's a renegade.
Wait till I tweet something about this Williams thing from Illinois. I'm getting ready to put myself in a bad position.
For his part, Joe Lenardi handled it pretty. He made light of it, and just kind of laughed. Hey, me and Archie are going to watch Sesame Street together, and he just played it off. And it was just kind. I didn't get to see it but it was. I mean, live, but yeah, it would have been funny.
Here's kind of the thing. You are completely right. I mean, it could have escalated into something where the national media would have gotten, more involved in it. But the way Lenardi handled it, I give him credit for that. My issue with Lenardi wasn't what happened on Saturday. It was what he did on Friday. And I watched his show and I watched the bracketology because I wanted to hear. I have respected his position for years and years and years of what he does because in my opinion, he has always taken the facts and laid them all out on paper and said, based on what has happened, this is where I see it standing. And this and what I've seen the committee do in the past, this is most likely what the scenario is going to be out of it. And all of a sudden, I don't know if he's being paid differently. And I am bringing these things up and maybe making accusations that are not even close to true. But I'm going to tell you something is different because he all of a sudden is taking a stance on things and giving his opinion versus what the facts are in things. And look, I don't think that anyone is going to tell you that Joe Lenardi is a basketball genius mind. So I don't need his opinion about basketball. I think his expertise is bracketology and taking the facts of what is on paper and not when he said on Friday night that he wants to make up his own new category for who should and shouldn't get in, then he just loses all credibility to me. At that point, his bracketology means nothing because now it's not based on fact anymore. It's based on his opinion. And we don't need his opinion. We can. Everybody's got an opinion. Bob Knight told us how many people have opinions. So it's just I mean, he lost a lot of credibility this year from my perspective because in the past he's just always been so professional about it, and now all of a sudden I don't know if he's being paid by some of the smaller conferences to make sure they get included more or whatever it is. I don't know what the fact is. But there's something different about this year than in the past.
Well, it's going to work out perfect because tomorrow we get to have our own Sesame Street character on. Our friend Mike DeCourcy will be joining us to talk about this very, very thing, which is kind of funny.
The true bracketologist.
Yeah, and here's something that I heard Mike say on the Big Ten show last night. This is not in regards to his bracketology. This is not what I think. This is what I think the committee is going to do.
Right.
That was a verbatim statement from Mike DeCourcy.
That's what we want.
Exactly.
Look, what is like right now, and I don't want you to Google it, So Jake, don't go Googling this. So give us some facts. Tell me what Joe Lunardi's basketball background is.
I would
Anyone
say he has
have
none.
any idea?
I would guess none. That it was
no
like
clue,
just
zero
like
idea.
Sagarin or something like that. Those guys are all numbers guys.
But I mean, from a coaching or playing standpoint,
right.
What would determine the fact that
they're numbers guys?
Yeah,
they're metrics guys.
He has studied. We have always given him credit. He has listed as the best bracketologist or the leading bracketologist because he has studied how the committee does their picks, and he's kind of perfected it. Now all of a sudden, it's the Joe Lunardi committee. He thinks he should be the committee. I don't like him.
He certainly turned it into a business.
I lost him. He lost me. He lost me Friday.
But now there's a lot more there. And then Mike DeCourcy, like I said, we have him on the show tomorrow, so looking forward to that. So I can't wait. Hey, lots more coming up on the program here today. Of course, this is the day that the voice joins us, Don Fischer. And guess what? He's up next. Stay tuned. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Larry coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this March 9th, Monday. Back right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make it tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic. Safe. Effective. Even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hey, it's Michael Lewis, former Indiana University player and current UCLA assistant basketball coach, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat.
Don Fischer is brought to you by Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington, located on the square at 123 South College Avenue on the southwest corner. Call 812-336-7229. Personal injury, criminal, or business. Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington will get you taken care of. And now, here's Don Fischer. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat here on this Monday, and you know what that means. We get to chat with the great voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer. Don, welcome in. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, Jim. How about yourself?
I can't complain. The spring weather is kind of here. They got we turned the clocks up, so I'm trying to get adjusted to that a little bit. But I enjoy the daylight. Hopefully, I'm looking forward to using that in the afternoon. But man, it is that time of year, Don, when it is basketball season everywhere. And the Hoosiers ended their season, of course, the other day with a really tough loss to Wisconsin. But man, that was a tough way to lose a game.
It was. Again, Indiana goes through one of those offensive droughts where they can't make a shot. I think they were 1 of 12 or 1 of 14 or whatever it was toward the end of that ball game, and just very disappointing, very frustrating more than anything else. The disappointment would only come in losing, in the sense that they battled, but they just couldn't quite get over the hump. But to be able to have shots at the rim like they did at the end of that ball game and just not be able to get anything to go down, really a frustrating scenario for this basketball team, and heartbreaking in some respects. But this is a team that's had to struggle with these droughts all season long, and they still haven't solved the problem, which appears to be unsolvable this season.
Yeah. Now we move forward, of course, on to Indianapolis for the Big Ten tournament, where they will play on Wednesday against Nebraska, a team they've beaten already twice, and but a team that's given them all that they wanted, especially here in Bloomington. But Indiana's a better team than that. We all know that. But, of course, we can't ignore the fact that they're kind of on the bubble right now as far as the NCAA tournament. Of course, we'll talk about the Sesame Street stuff in a minute. But I think they're in the tournament, Don. They've done what Archie said was true the other day. They've done enough. Although it's when you're on that bubble, though, people are going to scrutinize you.
Well, there's no question, and that's what Indiana must deal with at this point. But let's not go there just yet. Let's talk about the Big Ten tournament, because without doubt they can't afford to have a misstep here. And I'm talking about the misstep I'm speaking of would be the Nebraska game and losing that one. If they would lose that game, I think it would pretty much take them off the bubble and put them out of the tournament. Yes. Not to say that they still don't deserve to be in, because if you look at their resume, Archie's correct on that. Their resume's good, but right now the Big Ten tournament is what Indiana's got to deal with. And they have to play on the first day. They tied Purdue for the 10th spot, but of course lose the tiebreaker from a seeding perspective because they lost twice to the Boilers this year. And so they play Nebraska on the first day, which is Wednesday, and of course they'll play the final game on that evening, which would be someplace around the 8:30 tip time against the Cornhuskers, who have had a really tough season. They are 2-18. They are 7-24 overall. They and Northwestern have been the two teams that have really had their problems, even though they've been competitive in most of their ball games this season. They have had problems getting over the hump and winning. And Northwestern was able to do that over the weekend, so it took them out of the picture of being the last place team in the conference. Nebraska earns that right, and of course Nebraska gets beat soundly by Minnesota on Sunday because they didn't have two of their starters with them, two of their best players. Burke and Mack both get suspended. Mack for the second straight ball game suspended after he did something, and they sent both players home. Fred Hoiberg, the first-year coach, obviously making a point that you're not going to get away with things if you don't do the right things for our team, for our program. And so those two guys have been suspended indefinitely. I don't know if Fred will put them on the team for this Nebraska game or not, but they basically had 7 players play against Minnesota on Saturday and obviously got clobbered. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, but Indiana is certainly capable of taking care of business in this regard. And if they do so, and again, we shouldn't be looking too far ahead, but they would play Penn State next. And Penn State's a team that has had their problems of late. So, and as good as they are, and they, of course, beat Indiana at Penn State soundly, Indiana was able to take them and get the win back when they came to Bloomington a couple of weeks ago. But you just can't. There's nobody in the Big Ten that can't beat you on a given day, and vice versa.
Absolutely, and if you want any further proof of that, look at how the league ended up with a 3-way tie for first. But not only that, all 3 of those teams, the first teams to have 6 losses in the Big Ten Conference and be a champion. So that shows you how rugged it was this year. There's not just one, there's 3 of them with 6 losses.
Exactly. 3 teams tie for first place. And the team that everybody thought was going to win it a couple of weeks ago, or at least a week ago, were the Maryland Terrapins, and they end up losing their last couple ball games and get knocked out, or did they get knocked out of the championship? But they got knocked out of getting the championship all by their lonesome. And this is a tough league. There's just no question about it. And everything that's been said about the Big Ten being the best league in the country this year, I think, is justified just based on what they were able to do to one another from a cannibalization standpoint through this season, because 6 losses for three teams to win to co-champion, I think tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, I mean, you look no further than Wisconsin, the team that Indiana had to battle with this weekend. They've won 8 straight. How do you do that in this conference, Don? I mean, that just blows my mind.
Well, what you do is what Wisconsin does. Let's put it this way: what Wisconsin does is they just play smart. And they not just play smart, they take care of the basketball, and they run exactly what they try to run. They've always run it the same way ever since Bo Ryan took over there back in the late 90s. This program has been on a roll, and the reason they've been on a roll is they recruit the kind of kid that fits their system, and they year after year they just come back and they compete like crazy. They don't make mistakes. They don't turn the ball over. They don't foul. They find a way to defend you so that it looks like they don't foul. I think they foul all the time. But that's because they show their hands all the time. They don't reach very often. That's when they do get called for a foul. But literally, when you watch them play, they body you up like nobody in the league. They do a job that's tremendous, and they show their hands all the time, the officials, so it doesn't look like they're fouling, but they're getting you with the chest, with the gut. They are pounding you physically, defensively, and they don't get called for fouls because they don't reach. And that's just a basic fundamental of college basketball today.
They sound like a certain team that I used to see a lot of in the early 80s and 90s and close to Bloomington.
You're talking about maybe the 70s, too, when they had some of the best basketball teams in the country, too. And we're talking about the 75 and 76 teams, and they played. That's the way they played. They bodied you up. They did not. I mean, sure, they reached and they went after the basketball and deflections and things like that back in the day, but it was not an obvious thing, especially when if they were playing off of you. They would keep their hands up all the time, and if you tried to go to the baseline or tried to cut inside to the baseline, they'd use the baseline and the out-of-bounds line to be another defender, and they played so smart. And Wisconsin is playing very much a similar style of basketball to what Indiana did. I would say that Indiana, as the years went on, became a more offensive-minded team through those years. But they were still very good defensively because the basic fundamentals were always right there. And Wisconsin's, like I said, their system is really good, and they recruit kids to that system. They don't necessarily care if you're the greatest athlete in the world, but you've got to be a smart basketball player, and obviously they find those guys, and that's who they go after.
Absolutely. And then, of course, we had some funny comments by Archie as he was leaving the press room the other day in regards to bracketology and all that. But even with all that, Indiana was still in the tournament after that. I was kind of wondering how that would go. But Indiana's still even in. And there's something called bracket matrix where they take every bracket and they average them. And they're in, I think, on 99.9% of every bracket that's out there. They're on it. So it's still going to be interesting to see how this turns out.
It will be. I don't think there's any question that they're in right now. I think most everybody believes that. But they're going to still have to take care of business here. They've got to beat Nebraska, and I think it would really help them to beat Penn State as well if they can get through those 2 ball games. And then I think it's a lock. But, again, you never know what the committee's going to do. And so how a lot of these other conference tournaments, how they handle their situations and who wins it, who they feel like they still have to give a bid to after the conference champion is crowned, all those things come into play. And
bid stealers
before. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've seen this before. I mean, it can happen. You can think you're in, and if you don't take care of business yourself, you find that maybe somebody can knock you out, and it happens more often than it doesn't.
Absolutely. Not only that, Don, what a great time of year. We got the IHSA tournament going on, and there's a lot of IU prospects out there going. Like in Seymour this week, Christian Lander will be there. Leo will be there. It's just always a great time. But high school basketball out and about, and I think everyone should go out and try to catch a high school game if they can. But that's a great time of year for those guys as well.
There's no question, and it's just a fun time of year. I mean, in the month of March in Indiana is as good as it gets, because if you're a basketball fan, you're going to see not only at the college level, but you're going to see great basketball at the high school level, and of course we got a lot of local teams that are very much involved, and obviously very good basketball teams with very good players.
Absolutely. The great Don Fischer, the voice of the Hoosiers. I know you got a busy schedule on this Monday, and we appreciate you joining us as always. I hope you have another great day.
Yep, and I hope we have something to talk about next week that's really positive.
Yes, I think we will, and I'm looking forward to it. And Don, you have a great day. Thank you so much, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jim.
The great one, the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer, joining us here on this Monday. We're back with plenty more right after this.
It's a nice day for a white wedding. It's a nice day to start again.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hi, this is AJ Moye, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
You know, if you watch Sesame Street and you listen to all the characters on Sesame Street talk, and everyone gets all it's like if you watch Sesame Street, you listen to the guys on Sesame Street, it's a children's show. Every bracketology is a children's show. Bottom line with our resume is strength of record, and that's undeniable. It's a top 25 strength of record. If you don't put in a top 25 strength of record team with the wins that we have, somebody's going to have to answer some questions. Maybe we didn't win on the road. All right, there's about 15 teams that didn't do that. Well, maybe they didn't beat enough that. Well, there's some teams that have maybe half of the amount of quad one in 2 games that we have. And when you look at our wins, I think we have 3 wins against the top 10 in the quad. I mean, like 2 seed Florida State. You beat this team. Since December 3rd, we have not played one team that's not a high major team. No one's done it. But when you start to go through the bracketology and you listen to the Sesame Street cartoon guys on TV and need people to click and do all this stuff, the bottom line is strength of record. Who'd you play? Who'd you beat? And if you look at our wins, there's very few teams in the country that can say that they've beaten the Florida States, the Michigan States, the Ohio States, the Iowas, the Penn States, who clearly are in the field. So if you're beating 6, 7 teams in the field, you should be in the field. Now, everyone's going to say you don't have a 500 record in the league. They've already stated that the 500 record in the league doesn't matter. It's your body of work, because there's certain teams that played the 330th non-conference strength of schedule, which we didn't do. So if you add it all up, we scheduled to make the tournament, got a lot of good wins, played in an unprecedented season in the Big Ten in terms of the depth. And when you have that many teams competing for the tournament, 12, most of the year, and you beat each other up, my hope is that they just don't take it for granted how hard it is to win in the league. And I think today was our 24th or 25th straight Power 5 game. I mean, who does that? We did. Everyone wanted to bust our chops to start the season on our non-conference schedule. It worked out. Princeton's going to be in the Final Four of the deal. Conference USA's champion, or at least has a chance, is Louisiana Tech. South Dakota State won their league. You end up playing UConn and Notre Dame, but some of those games are a crapshoot sometimes. Both teams have had pretty good years. I mean, you beat them away from home. In league play, it is what it is. Who'd you play? Who'd you beat? So when I look at the stuff that really matters, the net is considerably different than any other number that stacks us. And that's because the net now goes into margins. So they don't really care if you win a great game on the road by 1 or did you beat a really good team at home by 4? Now, there's some efficiency and there's some things that go into the winning margin of a game and some efficiencies that go into the net that don't add up. But if you look at KPI, BPI, Sagarin, look at all of the metrics, Ken Palm in the top 35, strength of schedule is like 14 on all of them. It's like, who'd you play, who'd you beat? I think at the end of the day, our strength of record is like 26 coming into the game. Yep. If you have a strength of record at top 25, you played a good schedule and you beat good teams, you should be in the tournament. All right, Coach.
Obviously, Archie Miller there from this weekend with his famous Sesame Street rant. Some of the response received nationally, Fran Fraschilla. I personally like Archie Miller, and he'll crush me like Lenardi for saying this, but I think you have to win big at a place like Indiana if you're going to keep acting like this. That was retweeting a Doug Gottlieb tweet that really just cut to the chase. This is for Arch, and any fanboy media guy who acts like this is a good thing. Lenardi is not only an all-time great dude, he loves this sport. Why act like such a condescending I don't know if I can say that one on the radio. So, wow. A little surprise there.
I mean, Gottlieb's position is, here's the thing. When you go out and you say, and you're offended because somebody said something about somebody you think's a good dude, if that's your argument, you just put yourself into idiot category, because that makes no sense. Like that's your argument, is don't say that about him. He's a good dude. Like, look, say he's a professional, say he's great at what he does or something like that. Don't say because you like to have a beer with him that somebody can't come out and call him out. Look, let me see the tweet from Doug Gottlieb in regards to what Joe Lenardi said on Friday night about the fact of, and here's the ultimate argument. Almost everything he said bad Friday night, Joe Lunardi, that is, was about Purdue. That's our arch rival, and you would think I would be happy about that. But I'm not, because his argument was such BS and such a bunch of crap that it doesn't make any sense. Like, you're penalizing a team for playing in a great league. And he was outwardly saying that. He was saying, look, you have too many losses, not factoring in the fact of you're playing good teams every single night. You're going to have so many more opportunities to lose than a team like Northern Iowa, or a team even in this year in a conference that's not any good, like Colorado, or, even Virginia, West Virginia. I mean, West Virginia has 4 teams they have to beat. Everybody else is terrible. And so it's just like, I don't like when guys, so Doug Gottlieb's coming out trying to stick up for Joe Lunardi. Like, who's Doug Gottlieb? Like, he's exactly one of the Sesame Street guys that Archie's talking about. That's why he's offended by it.
Yeah, and I didn't realize I didn't finish his statement because I didn't have it completely open. He, after saying, why act like such a condescending DI, you know what? What is the win, Arch? Grow up, win games, state your case. Well, Doug Gottlieb, didn't he? And he's the one that went to Oklahoma State and got caught for stealing somebody's credit cards or something, didn't he? Am I confusing him?
No, that's the one.
First of all, you're out. You can't open your mouth about anything in my. I don't know that. Well,
he has. Okay, so over the years, here's what he's done. He started out. He wanted to get back into the business, and he was. I think he was really good. I think he got caught up in exactly what you and I talk about all the time. What I think Joe Lunardi got caught up in. And he's gotten too big for his britches, and now he thinks his opinion really, really matters to a lot of people. And
this is something that it's safe to jump, something big that's something safe to jump on and get yourself some. I don't want to say notoriety because we know who he is, but clicks, whatever you're looking for.
You know who can make a statement like that? Somebody that has won games themselves. I mean, you get one of these coaches, you get one of the analyst coaches on there that has won big games and has, now all of a sudden they're like they even had Bryce Drew on there yesterday on ESPN and on Fox. And I mean, you know what? You get a guy on there who's won some big games, go ahead and let him say something like that. And I bet he would say it in a different way. Doug Gottlieb could have handled that in a much more professional way. Look, Lunardi handled it in a much more professional way. Why does Doug Gottlieb need to chime in?
It's just funny, and I wonder how many coaches were going, yeah, but they would like to say that, but no better than to say it.
You know what? He got off. Archie probably wishes at the end of the day he hadn't said it.
Yeah,
but
he hadn't said it how he said it.
If Coach Knight would have said it, everybody would have thought it was funny.
It would have fit right into your thing of him taking attention off the team and all that.
It would have been exactly what Coach Knight used to do. And this time of year, he figured out a way to draw all the attention towards him. Look, what's everybody done today? What's everybody talked about since yesterday on Twitter and on everything else? They've talked about the fact of his press conference and what he did in his press conference, not the fact that Indiana blew a chance to solidify their, and I still think they're in, but I mean, they blew a chance to absolutely guarantee the fact that they're in. And so, it's him taking the attention off of that. And hey, I give him credit, Coach. He's learned from the best at that, because that's what Coach Knight did every season.
A pretty funny tweet from Matt Norlander. If it's conceivable that Dayton could host Xavier, Cincinnati, and former coach Archie Miller in the same season, they get a number 1 seed. How weird is
I don't
that?
know that the number 1 seed part of it really makes a difference. But
it's just weird that they're getting a number 1 seed.
Going back to Dayton and hosting all of those schools that are right there, that is fairly interesting.
And along with Archie, that's weird. It's just wild how things just work out sometimes. This tournament produces some of the weirdest matchups. Now, some of that is man-made, but they have to be in a position to even do that. So that's what makes this tournament so intriguing, are these compelling stories, these funky matchups that you can't hardly get any other time. It's just that's where the magic comes from, man.
Yeah, it is. But you know what? This just truly may be my opinion. It may not be the case. It's what I've picked up over the years is when they try to come up with these goofy matchups, like putting Indiana, someone against their alma mater. So if Bryce Drew was coaching playing against Valpo, or, like Archie against Dayton, or Steve Alford at UCLA against Indiana, or something, just something weird like that. Those games don't end up being near as dramatic as I think the committee anticipates that they're going to be. The real drama of the NCAA tournament comes when these small teams start mid-majors or whomever they are, or you'll get a team like a Wisconsin or somebody like that. I'll tell you right now, a team you want to watch out for, Illinois. You watch Illinois makes a run and gets to the Final Four. Those are the kind of, and Indiana, like this year, barely squeaking into the tournament, making a run, getting to the Final 8, the Final Four. I mean, that's what makes the NCAA tournament. And somebody will do it this year. There may be 4 teams that do it this year.
It would be interesting to see, or it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, and picking a tournament champion, I mean, it's just stick your hand in the hat and pull out the name, because while there are teams that, like you just mentioned, that are playing well, dangerous, man, you don't know who's going to rise. Iowa could rise up from that middle of the pack. You just don't know who's going to.
So I mean, you look at it. So Wisconsin has the overall number 1 seed in the Big Ten tournament. Okay?
Which is how mind-boggling is that alone?
It is. But so let's just ask it this way, because we would be considered, Big Ten experts. I only say experts because we watch every game in the Big Ten. Versus we watch a lot of games in the ACC, but we don't watch every game in the ACC. So I'm more knowledgeable about the Big Ten than I am any other conference. But so that being the case, Wisconsin is the number 1 overall seed. Do you really think Wisconsin's going to win the Big Ten tournament?
I don't.
Nope. And I'll bet you if you polled all the media people, anyone that's not from the state of Wisconsin, they're not going to pick Wisconsin to win it either.
But I'm not going to be surprised if
none of us will be,
because they've won 8 straight games right now.
But
and all you have to do is win
two. But you can say that comment about Maryland, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Iowa. There's 5 different teams you could probably say. It would not surprise me if they won it.
But I think you have to say Wisconsin is the favorite right now because of how they're playing, because they've won 8 straight, because they just came into Bloomington, won a hard game that they had to win. And I think that they are definitely the favorite because they are absolutely playing the best basketball in the Big Ten at the absolute right time. And having to only win 2 games is a gigantic advantage when you're on that kind of a heater.
Well, they still have to win 3 games.
Was it 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean they're going to play probably Michigan in the first game. Michigan,
they won't play till Friday. They get a double bye.
Yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Is it 5 days?
Yep. So they'll play the winner of Michigan Rutgers, and then they'll play the winner of Illinois and probably Iowa. I mean, there's no. I don't want to say there's no way they're not winning it.
Yeah, I mean it's.
They've got a tougher road as anybody does.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, their first game is going to be against Michigan or Rutgers. I mean,
they're
not guaranteed to win that game.
Both teams. They don't. I don't think either of those teams need a win to get in, but they should play like that. When you're on when you are Michigan and Rutgers are as far as the
Rutgers should play. Rutgers should play like they need it to get in. They're a possibility,
and they're playing well right now, coming off of a win in West Lafayette.
At Purdue, right? Yeah, for sure.
It's just going to be amazing.
So wouldn't you say Indiana is kind of in the exact same position they were in a year ago, heading into the Big Ten tournament? Only this year the team is easier. Like I think they've got to win a game in order to get in. Only this year they're playing Nebraska, and last year it was Ohio State.
It's not that they need to win the game; they can't lose the game. If that makes sense, this is the game they just can't.
It doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, but what I'm saying is more importantly,
they're out.
winning this game doesn't do them anything. Not losing is what's more important, because they can't lose to a Nebraska. If this was a better team, I don't know that how much it would matter. But
but what I think you're trying to say is it will not improve their seed
exactly
if they win.
Exactly.
But it is a must-win game, because if they lose, they're out.
Yes, exactly. That is the best. That is what I was trying to say and not able to get accomplished. Yeah.
I mean,
that's exactly it.
But then let's go along with what you said earlier. I think they're in a great position. I mean, if you could pick anyone to play on that Thursday afternoon, and you're Indiana, who would you choose out of this group? Ohio State, Purdue, Iowa, Rutgers, Michigan, or Penn State?
Well, who's the first one? Iowa?
Ohio State, Purdue, Iowa, Rutgers, or Michigan, or Penn State?
I don't know. Ohio State or Penn State?
Yeah, I pick Penn State for sure. I mean,
definitely there for me. I mean, Indiana has not matched up well against those other teams. They've swept by some of them. I think that they match up better with those teams.
I think they match up better with Penn State than any other. I mean, I could possibly pick Michigan or Rutgers, but I sure wouldn't pick Purdue. I sure wouldn't pick Ohio State. I sure wouldn't pick Iowa.
Dr. J says Gottlieb is an idiot anyway.
Yes, he is.
He gets paid to say Brady. Hey, I've never been a fan of his. I've never.
You know what?
And it was before I knew about his others. I just thought he was. I thought he was I wish this was the next hour. I'd say exactly what.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing with him, and this is just one case scenario for him, but over the years, there is a way he could have responded to what happened yesterday. First of all, Doug Gottlieb wasn't involved in the conversation. He didn't need to tweet. He didn't need to respond.
Getting that attention.
It didn't call his name out. He was just trying to get himself involved in it.
Exactly.
But if you're going to do that, there is a professional way that you can do that. And then there's if we were in the second hour, I would use a different word, but then there's a kind of an idiot way to do it, where you're just trying to gain attention. And he knew if he did the professional way, it wouldn't gain any of attention and he'd get 10 likes off of it. But if he was a jerk about it, he'll get 1 million likes, because there's 1 million people that don't like Indiana and don't like Archie Miller and don't want Indiana to succeed and all that. So he's going to get a ton of likes off of it just because he chooses the approach that gets more attention versus the professional way to handle it.
I agree. Tim hit us up on the text line. He's tuning in at the ER with his wife. Well, I hope everything's going okay.
Well,
thanks a lot for listening to the show.
A little more information, Tim.
Yeah, thanks a lot for still listening to the show, but I hope everything's okay. You can hit us up on the text line as well, and I hope things are all right wherever you are. 812-269-6367. See, Dr. J, tell Todd that Gottlieb is one of the Muppets that doesn't even have a name.
You guys are insulting the Muppets.
Yeah, it's exactly right. That is an insult to the Muppets. I would just drop kick him. I have just never. That is one dude. He's in the category with Jim Rome for me. All right, and this is not a subject that we're going to be talking about, but I don't get it. I have never heard anyone say they enjoy listening to that dude. I can't stand him. But he's making millions of dollars. He's got a national show. I don't get it. I can't listen to it for like 2 seconds, and I've never heard anyone that can either. And the dude has got a national show. It blows my mind.
Yeah, no, I don't understand it either. I mean, he was, wasn't it when he got in trouble? Wasn't he at Notre Dame?
Oh, you're talking about Gottlieb. I think you're right. Yes. He ended up transferring
Oklahoma, and then he transferred out after he got
Oklahoma State. He tried to get the Oklahoma State head coaching job not too long ago when it was open, within the last 2 years, I think.
Yeah. Hey, look, I'm the first person, obviously, that's going to tell you people can change and
of course,
and pay their price for what they do and all that. But then if that's what he did, look, I try to be fairly professional, and I try to be able to back up anything that I say publicly. I try to be able to have a good, pretty valid reason to back it up. My argument isn't going to be, hey, don't say that about him. He's a good dude. That's not going to be my argument.
He's a good
dude. Please don't make fun of my friend. He's a good dude. Hey, Joe Lenardi's probably. Hey, let me stick up for myself. I'm fine. I don't need Doug Gottlieb on my side.
Man, it was not a good weekend for the Indiana baseball squad. They lost the series to San Diego.
They lost the whole series?
Yeah, 2-1, 2-1. We'll hear from Coach Mercer in the next hour, and maybe Drew Ashley as well. Indiana women's basketball team, they got blown out by Maryland in the Big Ten women's tournament, but they'll be all right. I think they'll end up with a 5 seed, and we'll talk about that as well. Lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Larry from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moyer.
This is Dan Dawkins.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat. Coyle Larry here on this Monday. We are in March. And, man, it felt like it yesterday. Nice out there. Lots of people out playing golf.
Oh, my gosh. It was crazy how many people were playing golf.
Did you play? Oh, is this warming up for you yet?
Nope, not quite. About 5 degrees, about 5 more degrees. I need it to be mid-60s. I've gotten old and over the time.
I hope everyone gets, if you got to go out and see some high school basketball over the weekend, man, there were some great ones. Wow. great teams coming up in these regions. This is one of the best rounds, if you want to be truthful. It's kind of like the NCAA tournament. That second round, it really kicks into gear, and so it does with the regionals. And like in Seymour, you've got Bloomington South, Floyd Central, Greenwood, and Evansville Wrights. So there's two schools with guys that have committed to Indiana already, with Christian Lander and Anthony Leal. Floyd Central's got a kid, Jake Heidbreder. I think he's like a 6'4" guard that is getting looks. Of course, being a guard, I doubt that Indiana will be looking at him because they're kind of loaded in that area, but you never know. But he's a really good player. I'm not familiar with Greenwood, I'll be honest with you. But, man, they got there, so they beat Trace Jackson Davis's old team, Cedar Grove, to make it that far. So you got that. Then you've got, of course, a couple other regions around. Carmel will be playing wherever they end up playing.
Logansport. Carmel's at Logansport.
Straight up, is that straight north?
Yeah, it's up by Kokomo.
So then that's where sure Culver will be up in that same regional as well, I would imagine. Is that who they play? Oh, hey, who do they play?
No, they play a team I've never heard of.
Really?
Gosh, I can't think of who it is.
Because Culver will be in that. I would imagine Culver's in that regional. Can't get my phone to open up, but yeah, we'll have to pull that up in the next hour.
Okay, hang on. I'm getting it here. So Carmel plays New Haven. I don't even know where New Haven is.
I've seen that name plenty of times. I'm not.
They're from Huntington, so it must be over like south of Fort Wayne area, somewhere over there.
Now, is that the same regional? Who else is in that regional? Is it Culver?
Marion and Fort Wayne Snyder.
Really?
Yep.
Where
Culver is in the Michigan City regional, and Culver's playing Northridge, and then they'll play whoever wins that will play the winner of Valparaiso and Merrillville.
Valpo, a big win for them.
Yeah, Floyd Central and Bloomington South play at noon in Seymour on Saturday. They play the second game. Yep. First game is Greenwood and Evansville Wrights at 10 o'clock.
Man, could you imagine playing at 10 a.m. in the morning?
Yeah, I did it a whole bunch.
I thought those games started at like 11, which is not a lot later, I know. But
no, because you got to play that night game too. So
yeah,
the team that plays at noon doesn't get done until 2 o'clock ish.
Yeah, your early team's got an advantage a little bit.
You know where that does become an issue. So okay, let's look at someone. So Evansville plays at 10 in the morning, and they're gonna have to spend the night. Like we never did that. We never had to do that because we always played in Indianapolis at Hinkle. So we never actually had to go somewhere and spend the night.
And this is crazy.
In college is a big deal. In high school, that's in college. I mean, in college it's no big deal, but in high school, that's just different than your normal routine.
And I know this is going to sound silly, but Evansville is in a different time. So they're in the central time zone. We just had a time change, and they're going to be playing in a different time zone. With it being that early, I guarantee you that messes with you a little bit.
Yeah. Well, but I'm sure they're going to be. I'm sure they'll go spend the night.
Yeah, I would have to, man.
I would certainly
get up at 4 in the morning to
assume. Yeah, I know it.
Heck yeah, but wow! But you talk about some great games that'll be going on this weekend. Holy cow, those right there! You'll get to see Christian Lander and Evansville Wrights, and then of course Floyd Central, Bloomington South. That's a rematch of a game that happened earlier in this season. Bloomington South 24-0. One of those wins came over Floyd as I think it may have been Heidbreder who missed the front end of a bonus. I can't remember who shot that, and then Leo with a lay-in at the buzzer. So that'll be a great rematch, but it's just going to be great games. Go out and watch some high school basketball game this weekend, wherever it is.
Saturday, so this will work out great because Saturday, the IU game won't start until almost 4 o'clock. So you could get to Seymour, watch both games at Seymour, be out of there by 2 o'clock, and still make it to Indy for the start of the IU game in the semifinals of the Big Ten tournament.
Mr. Positivity.
There you go. You're there.
Mr. Positivity.
I'm still saying Indiana is not there. I don't think they'll win it, but I think they'll get to the finals and we'll end up with like a 7 seed.
You heard it right here. And when that happens, we're going to replay this over and over and over. I'm going to blast that thing out across America.
I'm telling you, I kind of have a good feeling about them right now.
It would be fun.
I feel like you know what? I'm glad Archie did this, not because I care about him making fun of Lenardi, even though we made fun of Lenardi. But I like it because I think this is something the team can kind of rally behind. You know, it happened every year. My freshman year, you know, Coach Knight came up with something and we were like, wow, why would he say that? And then the next year he did it again. And then my third year he did it again. You're like, okay, he does this on purpose every year. And then you start to kind of get behind it and you're like, you know what? I mean, they'll read that stuff. Our guys from IU, they read Twitter and they read all that BS. They'll read what Gottlieb said and it'll piss them off. I like it. I like the fact that Archie did it.
Hey, Sally in Evansville says, knowing how Todd feels about the class system in Indiana, does he think the Division II and III teams, national tournament teams, should just go home? Sally from Evansville. No, I don't think that's what Todd is saying.
Well, that's a completely different scenario. I mean,
yeah, they're not understand. Yeah, they're not looking at it the same.
Look. Here's the big issue. There's not been a one class system in college that included every college, whether it's Division 1, 2, 3, NAIA, or whatever it is,
since the dawn of time.
Since Sally's been alive, or since I've been alive, or since whomever wants to have this discussion has been alive. There's not been that system, and so they're not changing something that's not broken. The IHSAA changed something that was not broken, and everyone loved it. And when it got changed, all it did was create a bunch of different people's opinion. Like everyone, I have a bunch of friends that played at really small schools, and it was a gigantic, it made their entire year to win their sectional. They beat the big school from the big city, and it made their entire year. And now their team wins the sectional every single year, which it takes away from all those years, because right now the kids who are in school now, they say, hey, we won the sectional team back in whatever. And they're like, hey, my team won the sectional all 4 years I was in school. And it's not a big deal anymore. Where back then it was a big deal. When your team won that sectional, it was a gigantic deal. So, I mean, all I'm saying is I love being able to say, hey, my team won the state. We beat every team in the state had the opportunity to make it to the final game, and we made it there and won. That's a great feeling that I can say. This year, there's going to be 4 teams that win a state championship, and who's to say the Class 2A team couldn't beat the Class 4A team? We're not going to have an actual single champion for the state of Indiana, and that I don't like.
Well, we've seen 3A in Silver Creek, and they played. Didn't they play Bloomington South? That's one of Silver Creek's only losses, but it was a great game, and those are 2 different classes right there. I really don't like seeing 3 and 4 separated. I got to be honest with you, because there's too many. Yeah, I mean,
here's what I never heard. Here's something I truly never ever heard until they changed it. This debate never took place. I never heard someone say, this just stinks. This is unfair. I don't want it to be this way. I think that they should make it so that there's a class system, because it truly.
That's because you went to Lawrence North.
Yeah, but I mean, did you hear it?
Well, I heard the other small schools. I mean, they were just, but that's life, man. That's just life. When everything is made easy for you, that is not how life is.
So here's the argument against that. There are teams right now that, since they've changed it to class basketball, still have not won a sectional championship.
Exactly.
They've still not been able to do it. So should we add more classes?
Exactly. That's a great point.
Do we need to make it more fair? Should there be 10 classes?
Let's see. The college basketball power rankings are out. Another subject we talked about has been San Diego State and Dayton getting that number 1 seed. Well, San Diego State helped out with that discussion as they lose over the weekend. So I think that should probably – Baylor lost too, but Baylor has a much broader body of work. I don't think that they're going to lose out on a number 1 seed, but they could be close. Especially, when 2 teams from the same conference, they don't want to number 1 seed like that. But when you deserve it, you deserve it. But it's nice to see. I think Dayton deserves that number 1 seed, and I think that I'm glad to see that kind of work itself out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement with you, and I hope, San Diego State, even with the loss that they had to UNLV, they still had a chance at the number 1 seed, and going through and winning their conference would have got it for them. I'm still pretty sure they would have. With 2 losses, there's no way. Like, there's no way playing in that conference you can have 2 losses and get a number 1 seed. There's just no way. But as I said before, I'm not sure that this isn't a positive for them, because if I was them, I would rather be the 2 seed in the West than the 1 seed in the East and have to travel that far and have no fan base and have no one there for you. The way it is, they're going to get to play, regionally pretty close to home, and they'll be a 2 seed. I mean, they're going in that second weekend from the Sweet 16 on, they're going to have to beat good teams anyway. So it doesn't matter. A 1 or a 2 is really a negligible difference.
Yeah, and it's amazing to see how strong the Big East was this year, because that's not the Big East of old. But man, they're gonna put like 7 teams in the tournament probably. And the Pac-12, man, the Pac-12 doesn't get a lot of love, but I think they're going to end up putting like 7 teams in. And you look at the SEC and the ACC with 4 each, and the ACC.
You think the Big
lives
East
on
is going to get 7 teams in?
Am I thinking the right conference?
Creighton, Villanova, Seton Hall, Butler. And then I got 2 bubble teams as Providence and Xavier. I mean, do you think those teams get in?
I think they could. They could. I'm not guaranteeing. I'm just, if they did, I mean, it's a possibility. And the fact that they're possibly being able to get that many teams, they don't have, how many teams are in that conference? I mean, have they gone past 10?
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, that's pretty good when you can get, if you can get 70% of your teams in, that's pretty daggone good. I'm not saying they are, but they have a chance at it. And just for them to be able to be in that position, it's pretty impressive, because those are some smaller schools.
Yeah, no. I'm with you. I mean, here's what, if Indiana fans want to try to think about bid stealers and who they want to root against in the beginning of these conference tournaments, you want to root against Providence, Xavier, Marquette. You don't want any of those teams making a big run. You go to the Big 12. You want to root against Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, Texas, Oklahoma. Root against all those teams. You don't want them making a big run. Who was it out there in the Pac-12? There's a Pac-12 team. Oh, like Stanford. You want Stanford to lose early. I'll tell you, I mean, everyone counts Arizona as already in. I know Archie wants them in, I'm sure, but I mean, they are not great. I mean, they've really fizzled out. But you don't want a team like Stanford, making a run all the way to the finals. Colorado's even leveled off a bunch. Arizona State, USC. You don't want those teams making a run to the final. But
Ryan says, I love it, Todd. I am with you with IU making a run. Yeah, Ryan's on that positive train, too.
Ryan is definitely Mr. Positive. He's your Monday morning positivity.
He is,
guy.
And he is on that same train with you. Sally says, I do remember the Wrights girls won a state championship before it was a class system, so I do get what you're saying. She's on the other side of the fence, which is cool. It's always great, and you want that. But more importantly, we thank you for the text, Sally, and even more so, we're grateful that you're listening. So I hope you're having a great day.
I totally agree. Hey, here's the difference. Here's the difference between me and Doug Gottlieb is I value your opinion, and I enjoy having the discussion. I don't think you're an idiot for thinking that way. I value your opinion, and I do. I like the debate going back and forth. I mean, we all know my argument's usually right, but I enjoy the debate going back and forth.
And it is one that's going to probably rage on. It really won't rage on because it's never going to change.
It's not going back.
So
it's not going back. Hey, let's start debating the shot clock now because hopefully we can get that thing. Yeah, I'm giving up on the class system. I'm accepting it. It's okay. Let's go with it. But now let's get a shot clock in because if I have to watch one more game that finishes 22-24, I'm going to throw up.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's time. And I would hope that Indiana would be one of those leaders in high school basketball because they are the leader in high school basketball.
Hey, I liked Joe Smith's comment last week where he wanted to put a 24-second shot clock in.
He was right. Yeah, it's right. Speed it up, boy.
Jiminy Christmas.
NBA.
You want to talk about some entertainment? That would be entertaining.
That would absolutely
I'm
be
telling
fun.
you, it would increase attendance. Now, I think 24 seconds it would also decrease the level of basketball, so I don't love that. But I think a 30-second shot clock would be right on the money. Look how short those quarters are. Then they're 8-minute quarters, and even in the JV teams are 6-minute quarters. I mean, a 24-second shot clock is not out of the realm of possibility.
I know you'd have to have the personnel, but man, as a high school coach, what do you think a team that really played with a lot of pace and tempo? I think that would just completely keep a team on their heels. You got to be ready for that.
Oh, no doubt about it. Look, the game has changed. There's no doubt. Look at back in the old days. I mean, look at the movie Hoosiers. I mean, if you really analyze how that happened, they stood there and held the ball for 5 minutes. I mean,
kind of like we saw with that Fischer's Zionsville, whatever game it was.
It is. And that's so now teams are just figuring out different ways to do that. I mean, Fischer's ran the weave for 4 solid minutes. I mean, I get it. I like there's different ways around it and all that. But
to me, that also takes the spirit of the game out.
The game has changed. The game from back when my dad and my grandpa played. I mean, that you look at old IU scores from 1910. I mean, the scores were 14-9 final scores. The game has evolved and has changed and has gotten different. So let's go ahead and when these kids, here's what's weird about this whole argument. These kids almost all play AAU basketball. And AAU basketball has an up and down tempo, up and down pace, no matter what level it's at. There is no one in AAU that comes out there and stands there and holds the ball and waits for all the time to run out. So why would you have these kids that are in high school that in the summertime are playing one style of basketball come to their high school team and have to play a completely different style of game? Makes no sense.
I agree. We got to hit a break up. Up next, Mike Schumann's going to join us. Stay tuned. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Monday. We're back right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic. Safe. Effective. Even money saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hey, it's Michael Lewis, former Indiana University player and current UCLA assistant basketball coach, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat. Coyle Leary with you here on this Monday. Mike Schumann joining us now from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Michael, how are you?
Doing great, Jim. How are you?
Great. Talking about bubbles and more bubbles and a little Sesame Street, throwing some high school, and it's been a great show. It's been fun all day. Seriously, it has been, but that's the stuff that's been the topics. It's ironically, Todd had to step away, by the way. He had a doctor's appointment. But yeah, and just going over more stuff as everybody talks about bubbles and talks about the Sesame Street, Joe Lenardi and all that stuff, which it's kind of funny. But, I think Indiana they just need to do themselves a favor. And I talked about this with Todd. It's not that the Nebraska game is a must win. It's a must not lose because winning doesn't do you any good as far as helping you, but it just prevents you from falling off the cliff.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't care how you describe it, but they can't walk away from that game with a loss in the eyes of the committee. I mean, I have obviously no say in the matter, but I would be on the side of saying they don't deserve to go if they lose on Wednesday night. Because, I mean, Nebraska hasn't won a game since January 7th. I believe it's 16 losses in a row, and there's a decent chance they're going to be playing without two of their top players, two starters in that game due to suspension. So, the idea that you lose that game going in, and then the next thing the committee does is look at that as your last performance. I don't know how they could put them in. At that point, they'd be 19-13, effectively 9-12 in the Big Ten, and at that point also having what they've managed to avoid to this point, which is a bad loss in the eyes of the committee and based on the net. So I think at that point, the loss in Nebraska might even be a quad 4 loss. So, your characterization is good. I mean, they just can't lose it.
And then bid stealers is something that's going to come into play again. And I think for Indiana, because if it were something that got away from and there started to be too many of those, that Indiana could certainly pay a price for that. That has not been the case thus far, but there's only been 5 conference tournaments, I believe complete, which the bulk of those will commence Wednesday, but bigger ones, well, I guess they don't have to do that anymore. Back in the day, the Big East had to start on Tuesday. They had so many teams. But I guess everything will start on Wednesday, I believe.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Anytime you're in Indiana's situation on the bubble, you cringe every time somebody pulls off an upset at a conference tournament. We did see it with San Diego State losing in the Mountain West. That freed up a new entry that you wouldn't have otherwise expected to have happened. So, several more of those this week, and it does make you nervous if you're in Indiana, and even if you only get that one win over Nebraska, the more of those that happen, the worse the case it could be. I'll go on my annual soapbox that nobody will listen to, and it doesn't really hold any weight, but to me, it's just absolutely absurd that a team can have a terrible season, win their conference tournament, and get an automatic bid. It just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't. That's one thing I've never understood. Why place so much and so much more and so much value on a 3-4 day conference tournament versus a 4-month conference grind that you come out on top of. That just now for the Big Ten or SEC or ACC or any of the Power Five or conferences like that, it doesn't matter if you win the tournament or not. If you win the regular season in those conferences, you know you're going just because you know the strength that is going to bring with it. But there are multiple conferences that is simply not the case, to where they're just one bid conferences. If you don't win the tournament, having a good year does not always guarantee you jack. But then in the case when it does, it affects teams like Indiana that are trying to get in and are on that bubble.
Yeah, and some of these teams that they squeak their way in by winning their conference tournament. If they played in a league like the Big Ten, they'd be the Nebraska or the Northwestern. They'd have a 4-16 season, and because of the tournament, they find their way into the NCAA anyway. And I guess the ultimate reason is, what's the point of having the conference tournament if it doesn't carry some significance? And so the significance is a chance to make the NCAA, but it's not the right approach.
It all comes down to money. These tournaments were invented for one thing and one thing only: to sell tickets, to make money, to put it on TV, to make more money. And that is the only reason these things were devised. But you're right, to get people to participate, there has to be a big fruit basket at the end of it. And there is with the automatic bid. Now, again, I just don't – it's not fair to me to a team in those one-bid conferences that grind out a championship over the course of an entire season, but that conference is not quite strong enough to carry that second bid. Oh, well, it's life, I guess, but I just don't think it's fair.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a better way to do it, instead of having the conference tournaments, is, take all the bubble teams during conference tournament week and have them play in a tournament for the right to go to the NCAA. I would support that much more, because at least you're putting teams that have, are getting a chance based on the performance they've had during the entire season.
And you look at the conference that San Diego State plays in right there. Who ended up winning, or has their tournament started? Did their loss come in their tournament over the weekend?
Yeah. I forget who they lost to, but it's like that right there. Just stole a bid.
So that's exactly what we're talking about, because they wouldn't have been going in. So now there's one more spot taken away already. The thing is, your destiny is in your own hands. You win and it doesn't matter. It's that simple. But that was the case on Sunday or Saturday against Wisconsin. You win and it doesn't matter. That's exactly, you can only say that for so long. As a matter of fact, you can only say that for one more game. After that, then we know where we are.
Yeah, and I guess the question is, if they beat Nebraska, are they automatically in?
Yes. To me, there's no doubt.
What if they get blown out and just look terrible against Penn State?
It wouldn't be a great look, but I don't think it matters. If they get that 20th win, which that would give them that, and with it all coming in the Big Ten Conference this season, with the Big Ten Conference being the juggernaut that it is, I think that they are, because they're in right now on 99.9% of every bracket that is out there. And I don't think they lost to a team that would be a quad one loss is going to knock them out.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I mean, if I'll say this on Sunday, if they lose to Penn State on Sunday, I'm going to be watching that selection show with a little bit of apprehension, because I don't think it's going to be clear, but I would be surprised if they didn't make it. It reminds me a lot, if people remember the 2015 season, which would have been Yogi Ferrell's junior year. They were in a very, very similar spot and may have even ended up with the same record. They had to beat, I think it was Northwestern in the Big Ten tournament. That might have been the year the tournament was in Washington, D.C. I could be getting that crossed up there, but they got that win over Northwestern, lost in the second round, and squeaked in at large as maybe like a 10 seed and lost to Wichita State in the first round. But very similar setup, where the first game is just an absolute must, and then from there, who knows?
We've made no predictions regarding the tournament yet because we'll be talking about it again. But since you won't be with us, what's your prediction? Who's going to win the Big Ten tournament this year?
That's a tough one, man. I mean,
come on, man. Come on. Tough questions, tough answers. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
course.
no,
It's a crapshoot.
Yeah, when you have three teams tie at 14-6, that makes it especially tough. I'd say there's no clear favor, but it's always hard to bet against a Michigan State who, seems to have kind of gotten through their difficulties a little bit. They've got some guys like a Rocket Watts, Aaron Henry stepping up and kind of filling roles that needed to be filled, because there for a while it just seemed like it was a two-man team with Tillman and Cassius Winston, but they've had some guys here step up late. They've always been strong in the Big Ten tournament. I can't even remember how many times they've won it at this point, and they're just always generally strong in March, as you know. So if I had to put my money on somebody, that would probably be it.
Is Wisconsin the favorite?
I mean, they're technically the 1 seed based on tiebreakers. I have a hard time seeing them as the favorite. I just don't think that they have enough dynamic players. They're always a tough matchup just because of the way that they play, as obviously as Indiana saw on Saturday. They play really hard and they're going to fight you all the way down to the end. But I just don't think that they have enough dynamic players in the end to win 3 games in a row against really good competition.
Well, Todd asked me that question earlier, and if I thought they were going to win, I said no. I've changed my mind. I do. If I have to pick a favorite as of this moment, it would be Wisconsin, because they've won 8 straight, because they only have to win 3. And they are playing well enough to where they have sustained that many wins in a row. Half of those have come on the road. They just did it in Bloomington, in a place where Indiana needed that win. They really needed that win. And it was a game that they had to grind because Indiana controlled that game, and they never quit. They never went away. They never stopped doing what they were doing, and it worked for them in the end. I'm going to make them my favorite. They've done it. They've won 8 in a row, so I can see them winning 3 more.
The one thing I'll definitely say about Wisconsin is I think Greg Gard should be the coach of the year. I don't think there's any doubt about that one.
He should be up for national coach of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I could support that too. I mean, I wouldn't have said that midway through the Big Ten. It seemed like it was a race between Peichel and Pat Chambers, but both of those teams kind of faded. And, at that same time, Wisconsin emerged at a time when you really thought there was no chance that they would. They lost Kobe King, who was, I believe, their second leading scorer. They had the issues with Brad Davison, but, he got through both of those, as well as, integrating Micah Potter into the lineup, which I don't think anybody really expected him to be nearly as good as he has been, and to win 8 in a row down the stretch. Now, the one thing I'll say about them on this 8-game winning streak, and this is, it's kind of silly to say because you win 8 games in this league, I don't care who you played, but they didn't play the best of the best. They didn't play any Michigan State or Maryland. Most of their tough road wins were against, the bottom half of the league. So I think they were 5-3 at home, or 5 of their 8 wins were at home during that stretch. So they didn't play the best of the best, but I think we know, watching Indiana play, whoever you're playing in this league, winning 8 in a row, you don't need to put an asterisk next to that. It's just incredibly impressive.
Absolutely. IHSAA tournament well underway. This weekend's regional weekend, and some great ones coming up, especially in Seymour, the world's largest high school gym with 8,000 seats that were full last weekend. It'll be full this weekend again, as Floyd Central will be taking on Bloomington South in a rematch of a regular season game. South won that game with a last-second lay-in by Anthony Leal. Floyd Central looking for revenge. Also there, Christian Lander and Evansville Wright. So there you go, man. You talk about an opportunity to go see some great play.
Yeah, and I'm sure Indiana fans will be pulling for a Wrights versus South final, except for some Floyd Central folks out there, which I believe you're one, right?
Yeah, exactly.
but it would obviously be neat to see Lander go against Leo for the right to go to semi-state. So, but whatever happens there, I mean, I've never seen Floyd Central play, but everybody tells me about their defense, and I know they gave Langford fits a couple of years ago, and they always are a tough out. So that should be a really good game in the morning as well.
we could theoretically see a Lander-Leo matchup in the regional championship, followed by a Leo or Lander-Galloway matchup at the state championship level.
Yeah, that one would be at state, and then I guess for Leo or Lander to get to state, they'd have to probably go through Lawrence North, I believe, who's likely to be in that semi-state spot, which would be obviously a very tough out.
I don't know anybody that ever played at that school that was worth a crap, but he's not here now, so I can just jokingly say that.
Some guy named Montrose that carried that team.
No, that's what it was. Yeah, yeah, I'm sure if he can hear this, he's laughing. Lawrence North. Wow, they're tough. But then, while you talk about Todd Leary, his son Will is Carmel. They're still active as well. They won their sectional championship, and they're up. I think he said Logansport is where they're going to be playing. But, they're still active too. So lots going on, man. Yeah,
have you guys been talking about the shot clock at all on your show here?
Well, we just mentioned it again. He said let's just focus on getting the shot clock in. And I think that that's something they need to add. But Indiana's so slow.
Yeah, that sectional that Carmel came out of, the town I live in, Zionsville,
23 to 21.
Yeah, several games in the 20s and 30s. It's just kind of crazy. I mean,
let's see. Floyd Central won in the set. They scored 70, and I look at these games in the 20s. That's just ridiculous.
I mean, the bottom line is it's not preparing these kids to play at the next level, which has got to be part of the consideration. Tradition's one thing; it's nice, but
to me, it's not preparing them for life.
Yeah,
I mean, literally. I mean, seriously, because life is just a lifelong list of challenges that you have to face, and that's just trying to cheat the system is all you're doing. Hey, I don't think we can play with these guys, so let's just run around for an hour. What is that teaching? What is that telling? Find a way to cheat, find a way to take shortcuts. I disagree with it. I don't agree with it. If you're not good enough, then I'm sorry. I mean, that's my opinion on that. What do you say, Jake? Well, not just lose, but go down trying at least. I mean, that's not trying to me. That's just, I think it's a cowardly way out. But
and here's an anecdote. I know the IHSAA has been trying to figure out why their attendance has been going down. I took my family to a Zionsville game a couple of weeks ago, and my kids are young, so they haven't been to many games. My wife isn't a big basketball person, but like the first 2 minutes of that game was just passing the ball around the perimeter. My wife, first thing she says is, do they have a shot clock? And my kids were bored out of their minds. And so, I don't think it's a great product for fans either.
It's not. I mean, but those who do have a good product do have fans. I mean, because most of these gyms are packed. These sectionals, man, there were some great photos from it wasn't Washington. Where was it? Lagodi. I remember seeing one from there. Of course, all these classic gyms, Seymour, Southport, all in all, it just they're filled. There's people there because those are good because it's mostly is a great product, but there's enough to where I think the shot clock, it's time for a shot clock. And I think it, like you mentioned, it's preparing them for those that are going to go on to play at the next level, where whatever that is. That could be NAIA. Right. I mean, there's so many kids from this state that leave high school and play college from the smallest level up. I mean, it's from a per capita standpoint, I don't know that anybody sends more than the state does, but they're not helping them by not having a shot clock.
Agree 100%.
And your assertion about that not helping the game in attendance, I didn't even think about it in that manner, but it's exactly the true. The gyms are full on teams that play good, win, and play well. That's that simple. I mean, but if you don't give them anything to watch, why would you want to go?
Right. I mean, the game has changed. Guys are used to watching the NBA with a 24-second shot clock. It's hard to watch the opposite side of that.
The women's Indiana team, they got blown out by Maryland, man, in the tournament. They've had a great year. I think they still will end up as a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. They're not going to get that coveted. I don't think they get that coveted top 16 spot, which would allow them to host a couple of games, which stinks. That would have been incredible, but you never know. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was the one that asked Coach Moore that after the game on Saturday, what her thoughts are on getting that top 4 spot and, what her pitch was to the committee. And she said, just their non-conference strength of schedule, including the fact that they're the only team in the country that's beaten South Carolina and the number 1 team. People tend to forget that. And then just the quality top to bottom of the Big Ten, it's not all that dissimilar to the men's side in terms of there's not a lot of weakness in that league. And 3 of Indiana's 8 losses are to Maryland, which is probably going to be a number 1 seed in and of itself. So, it's another team that just doesn't have bad losses, and they're clearly right on that line. My gut says that they're going to end up as a 5 seed, which is still just phenomenal progress. It's, the 3rd straight year you go from NIT title to making the NCAA last year and winning a game. If you work your way up to a 4 or 5 seed, the progress there is fantastic.
Absolutely. Lots and lots of basketball starting Wednesday, man. The Big Ten tournament gets underway for the Indiana men. And when does the women have their selection show?
It is the day after the men, so Monday. A week from
today. They got a week break in between while we're waiting on that. But plenty of high school basketball going on, like we talked about, these regionals this weekend. Go out and check one of them out, man. It is great. You talk about great entertainment. You won't be disappointed if you go to Seymour. That one I know. But those teams, they're going to be playing ball.
Yep. I think it's going to be a sold-out venue no matter what.
And that's exactly where you will find me. Which one are you going to?
Probably the same. Definitely if it ends up Lander and Leo. I mean, that's obviously an IU story there, so got to be there.
I believe it. Baseball got blown. They lost a series over the weekend, Mike, to San Diego.
Yeah, we got off to such a good start with a blowout win over Purdue. I won the first game against San Diego, but then it turned south quickly. So
their bats just went quiet, man. They couldn't get much going.
They did, but I still think as an overall story, it's still trending in the right direction.
Oh, absolutely!
Considering everything they lost.
I think they're going to have a really good season. I love Jeff Mercer as a coach. He may be the best coach at Indiana University.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. Fred Glass has made a lot of good hires. I know people still have a question mark about men's basketball, but when you think about Morin and Mercer and some of the other folks, don't forget Todd Yeagley. he's hired a lot of good people.
Absolutely. Mike, thanks for joining us, man.
All right, guys. Have a great one.
You betcha. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier joining us there just now. That's pretty much going to wrap it up for us today. We've Todd had to go to the dentist or doctor's appointment, so we've got that's pretty much a full show already. So we can just cut these last couple of minutes off. But we appreciate everybody joining us. Hey, make sure you follow us on Twitter at Leary Todd or at Jim Coyle ISB for complete coverage. And make sure you go to Rivals and open up an account at the Indiana Rivals, thehoosier.com. Our show is going to be carried there. The post-game shows will all be carried there. We're going to be adding a lot of other things there for you guys as well. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything just to sign up to access the site. But look forward to that. Take care of that. Until tomorrow, we'll be back with plenty more. Thanks a lot to everybody joining us today. Thanks to Fish, Don Fischer, the voice of the Hoosiers, as well as Mike Schumann. For Jake and Todd, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.